If ever there was an art form that was durable enough to like take some real howlers of performances, it's the jazz world.
Ladies and germs. Another episode of Houston Ensemble podcast with Graeme Francis here today.
What's up? What's up?
Before we begin, everybody who's been following us for a while, everybody in Houston has basically, that we know in our network, has wondered where we went. And Chad, wouldn't you say we heard that about 100 times?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, okay, fine. We'll be back. And now
here you are.
So please follow us. Subscribe to the channel now. Give it a like or not. It takes you less than a second. It means a lot. You're supporting Houston musicians. You're supporting a good thing. Now let's begin. Graeme, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you fellas doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me. This is kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like hanging out with you guys anyway, but this is a sweet spot.
Thank you very much. This is one of our new places to do this. People who've helped make this happen for me. You know who you are. Thank you. And Graeme, please, for the people that may not know, tell us a little about yourself.
I'm from Canada. Grew up on the east coast of Canada, Prince Edward Island, and I'm a classically trained percussionist. And so if you only know me as a jazz drummer, that's the new thing. Like I still say that. Like I'm older than you clowns, but like I still feel like I'm new to jazz in a way that I'm not new to classical music. I was a classically trained pianist for 12 years and then did an undergrad music ed up in Canada. Did my master's at SMU with the Dallas Symphony guys, DMA at UT Austin, all classical percussion. And with the intent of being a college professor, which I did for 16 years. And in the midst there, I'd always played drum set badly, essentially. Like I started, I think in 8th grade, I bought a drum set from this guy at my church who's in a punk band. And so I had a super punk drum set for ages and just beat the tar out of it, like everybody does in 8th grade. Some bad bands in high school. I was in a ska band for a minute called Dress to Kill. Shout out Simon Jelliff.
That sounds kind of good.
I mean, it was a really fun band. I don't know what I was doing in there. Like I couldn't even keep up. Like I had no chops, no technique, no nothing, But I knew one of the guys in the band, and I guess their drummer wasn't working out or something. And so all of a sudden I was in the band. We played half a dozen shows or something, not a screaming success, but it was fun. And it's cool to be part of something like that. Always enjoyed jazz. I think there was a trumpet player that gave me like a Miles Davis CD like when I was 13. It was like, hey, you should check this out. And as you do, kind of randomly, it's like there's certain things that stick in your brain in that like little golden window between, I don't know, age like 12 and 18 that just like sits there forever because you ingest stuff differently, when you're that age. And that kind of stuck. And I went to see an incredible group called Time Warp, which is kind of a fusion jazz outfit out of Toronto. The trumpet player of which actually I just ran into in Toronto. This is a different story, and I think that was the first like jazz show I ever saw. Up to that point, I'd seen the symphony play and I'd been in piano competitions, whenever, always straight ahead piano stuff, no real improvisation. So that was the background. And so I saw this one show, and I remember Barry Elms, great drummer from Toronto, using brushes. And I had no idea what that was, and I was just totally mesmerized. And I still remember that now. And so I guess mom and dad like bought the CD, and I just ingested that. So there was like, it was like offcuts from, or a weird compilation of like Miles stuff from like, I guess Birth of the Cool kind of era, Nonette stuff, and then this Time Warp record. And I just listened to those constantly, along with Tribe Called Quest and all sorts of hip hop stuff, which I got from my older and much cooler brother. So like my entrance to like jazz world was like half random and half from like, why does this hip hop tune sound so good? Oh, right. It's because they're sampling Herbie or whatever, And it's like, so that I credit my brother in that sense for like a lot of this jazz thing. But the jazz thing didn't really, I was playing in the big band in high school, and it was swinging like the anchor on the Queen Mary. But I had really great teachers. I had a great piano teacher, I had a great band director, and a lot of really good opportunities that you wouldn't expect from a place as tiny as Prince Edward Island. That's a very, very small place with an incredible music scene. And I don't think I appreciated that when I was a kid. I was a bit of an elitist. So I was always keen to get out of there and go and do stuff in a bigger place. And I think I appreciate the incredible music education I got as a kid much more now than I did then. So yeah, went to university, played in the big band there. Again, not well. It was probably quite poor. And then when it came time to do my master's, the guy that ran the big band there, Akira Sato, who happens to be another Canadian, used to run, I did arrangements for or played with the 1 O'Clock Band at UNT. I don't remember exactly which. He was the big band director at SMU, and he needed an assistant. So all of a sudden it was like, well, here's this guy who's doing classical percussion, but he's not totally useless at jazz. And so he actually, at my audition, he had me play some drum set stuff just with him, on trumpet, I think. And the fact that he could tell what tune I was playing on the drums, he was like, okay, that's a good start. Mm-hmm. And that didn't mean anything to me, but he was like, oh, let's play Olio. I'm like, there's nobody else here except you and me. And he's not even playing the melody. But I have, if you know the tune, you know the tune, right?
Mm-hmm. All right.
And he was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But again, I'd never taken a drum set lesson in my life. And all of a sudden I was running the combo class badly. But as you know, if you have to teach something, you can kind of go one of two routes. You can be like, well, what I say goes because I'm the teacher, or you can be a little more I don't know, self-aware and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I better do some real work and do some real listening and make sure I know what's the top 10 versions of 4, and do you know that the intro, the drum set intro, and you got to have some kind of appreciation for that. I'm yelling at the choir here, but that was all new to me, and just the digging into listening as the real source of the information rather than having a teacher telling you what to do each week,
right? Which
is very much a classical approach to music learning. Was a new thing, and I really got that from Akira. And then at UT, I was doing my DMA and, playing the percussion ensemble, which I still love, and doing the orchestra stuff. And I was playing with the Austin Symphony as a sub, and the ballet and the opera. But they needed the second big band at UT needed a player who could read charts. And if I could do anything, it was read. That's fine. Couldn't swing my way out of a wet paper bag, but I'd get more or less get the hits right. And the band director was Ron Westray, who was in Winton's band, and he used to come back and play time for me. It's that's how good I was. Give you an idea, right? And because I was in the band, I also got lessons with Brandon Temple, who's one of my besties now. That guy's incredible. First drum set lesson I ever had, and the first thing he said, he'd play. He's a funny way of teaching. You walk into your lesson and he's already playing, and you just he's first of all intimidatingly cool guy, and I'm the whitest cat ever. I play a lot of Beethoven, right?
That sounds cool.
It is. It's great music, but I was what am I doing here? I'm very much a fish out of water, and so just he's playing. He's it's all these cool ideas, and I'm I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. But he kind of kind of gesture maybe you should play some stuff too. And I was I don't really know what are we playing a tune? I'm thinking what page should I be working from this week? That's where my brain is, because that's that's the mode in which I've learned for most of my life.
Right.
And so we were playing, and I'm trying to do a thing, and he's playing all this cool stuff. We finished, and he's like, "Yeah, man, it sounds like you're playing every record you've ever heard, all the time." And I was well, yes, I am playing every record. So none of it makes sense. It's all totally out of context. And so some of the best advice he ever gave me was pick a drummer, Philly Joe, Art Blakey, whatever, for a month, and don't listen to anything else. And when you're practicing, just play along with that and get that sound and that style into your brain, so you can start figuring out what goes where. You can't play your bebop fills in your country band, and you probably can't play your metal fills in your bebop band.
Right.
I mean, you can, but it's going to be like,
Yeah.
it's a brave
you wanna
choice,
make-
right?
If you want to make Instagram videos,
Ping, ting, ting, like
Yeah.
what? Like no, it doesn't make sense. And that had literally never occurred to me because I'd never had a lesson. And so, just by virtue of proximity, as much as anything else, because the jazz department's on the same floor, 6th floor at UT, right down the hall from the percussionists. Like there's a little overlap there, and so I'm in a combo all of a sudden, and I'm in the band with Ron Westray, and I've got lessons, so I've kind of got one foot in jazz land, and they're all like super nice people. I became really good friends with a lot of them, including one Doc Watkins, who like me was the classical DMA guy who was like in one of the "You're Not a Jazz Major" combo things.
Really? Okay.
And we would all end up playing together in the combo jury. It's like, all right, we got combo A, B, 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 C, D, E, F. And then combo G is like all the cats that are maybe in one of the big bands or in the combo and is like also taking jazz lessons. And that's where we met. And the hang was great. And he already sounded great. I didn't know what I was doing, but like he had played and he'd been working professionally already. Great classical pianist too. And so we became good friends and kept playing together. And then all of a sudden he decided he was going to do this professionally, which I thought was insane. Like, is that even a thing? You know, he's getting a DMA, I'm getting a DMA. I'm already teaching at UTSA. We're growing this great program down there. And he's like, no, I'm gonna do jazz piano professionally. Like, that's insane. And of course, all of a sudden, he's like the guy in San Antonio. He moves to San Antonio, and he's got all the best gigs in town. And just by virtue of the fact that we were buddies, I end up playing a billion gigs with him. And that's really where, as you know, that's where you learn your stuff. Like, you can take a million lessons, you can get all your books and shed in your bedroom. But, like, you learn on the gig, really. And so that's where I learned. Everybody on the gig was always miles ahead of where I am. So it's like, yes, it kind of sucks being the weak link in the band, but it's also like the best education you can get because you're always trying to like keep up with these guys, and you're keenly aware of where you're not really up to snuff with these cats. And that was my position for years. We had like a Friday, Saturday thing at Bohannon's, which is like a legendary gig in my brain now. And then Sundays at the Esquire. And even though I was living here with my wife, she was at HGO. I was in San Antonio all the time. And I had the university job there. So Tuesday through Thursday, I'd teach like crazy. And then Friday, Saturday, I might be at Bohannon's, or I'd be playing with the San Antonio Symphony, just as likely. And then Sundays at the Esquire, and then drive back. So it's like kind of insane now that I think of it. But, you know, I spent 10 years at UTSA. And as far as professional development, like, it doesn't get much better than that. You know, my colleague and I, Sherry Rubens, shout out to Sherry, grew a fantastic program there. And we're really an incredible team. I think we really complement each other. And while I was there, because I was playing some jazz, and as an adjunct, anybody that's done this adjunct gigs knows, like, if you can kind of create a nook for yourself, you are less easy to get rid of. You got to really kind of make your own gig. And there was no one teaching drum set specifically, but there was a jazz improvisation course code for which you could have, like, there was a saxophone teacher and a bass teacher and whatever, but no drums. I was like, well, I could do that, you know, because if you're coming from marching band land in high school and you're otherwise classically trained, you might know just slightly less about jazz drum set than I do, which means maybe I can teach you something, you know? So I became sort of the de facto jazz drum set guy. And then I, put my stomping boots on because it was like, okay, if you're really going to teach this in I'm Dr. Francis and my students are studying jazz drum set with me, like, you can either assume that, like, oh, well, I'm Dr. Francis, so I know what's going on. Not unlike the combo course at SMU, really. Or you can be like, I don't know anything about this, and I need to make sure that I'm not filling my students' heads with some kind of crazy ideas that they're just going to take for granted because I'm the teacher. Like, that's kind of how that model often works. So trying to practice what I was preaching
And like what I learned on the gig last Friday night, it's like, well, man, I totally got my butt kicked by this tune because the form's a little weird and I was not prepared to play a 6-bar phrase. How do I work on that? Like all the stuff that you guys already know, that was still new to me as the guy at the university supposedly teaching this stuff. So that, like, fast forward, 10 years, Doc Watkins is now the guy and like has really created a name for himself. And we're playing the Majestic Theater and in San Antonio. And he's like, oh, let's go play Carnegie Hall. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like, that's a great idea. And then all of a sudden, we're booked at Carnegie Hall. I'm like,
really?
I don't know. This is how this man works. It's unbelievable. He gets these ideas and like somehow he executes on them. So
like
January of 2016.
What was that for? Like, what was the?
That's a great question. I think it was like a Jazz Tonight series.
Oh,
you should
very
ask. You
cool.
should have him on. Honestly, if I'd thought of it, I would have said, "Man, get down here earlier," and you can
Yeah, we definitely will.
get in. He's such an amazing guy. Like the best hang, super humble, plays his rear end off, and has incredible ideas that somehow he is able to execute. It's
Hard worker, you say?
Oh yeah, no slouch. No. Not immune to work, that man. Yeah. But also, like, just a great hang. Like, he's a bit of a magician in that way. Kind of
Musician?
A musician. That's the word.
He's a fantastic guy. And super nice, and I think
you've met him, right? Yeah.
And obviously, for people that don't know, owns the club in San Antonio, Jazz, Texas.
Yep.
One of the best jazz clubs there, and that probably can lead us into a nice segue to kind of talk about what is happening in Houston with the new jazz club that's being opened under his name.
Yep.
Doc's
Montrose.
And Graeme, maybe you can fill us in on your part.
Yeah, so I'm the
integral
artistic director. My partner in crime, Felicia, who does all the booking and artistic stuff at Jazz Texas, and I are taking care of the music side of things here. Basically, when Doc Watkins, found out that I was moving back down here from New York, it was about the same time. It's very fortuitous, really, that he was thinking about kind of spreading out the Jazz Texas model to larger cities and open up some new joints.
And how many years ago was that when you moved back from New York to here?
3 years.
I was going to say it's pretty recent.
Why were you in New York?
So I had my job in San Antonio and was playing all the time there. My wife was at HGO here.
What does she do in the opera?
She's an arts administrator.
Okay.
So she was working with the
I
Young
knew
Artist
that.
Studio.
Nice.
And we always said, like, whoever gets, because it was like, we couldn't even have a goldfish. Like, we were never home. Neither of us were ever home. It was great. And we were really happy to have the time, I think, and the enthusiasm to really dig into what we were doing professionally. But we also would like to have a family at some point. It was like, that was just a statistical impossibility. The 80, 90 hours a week that we were spent, doing our respective jobs, which was great. I don't regret that at all. And I don't think she does either. It was just like, that was a very busy, like, job focused, all hands on deck kind of a time. And it was great. I loved it. But we were like, okay, whoever's get the next big gig, we're both moving. And cool. So the Glimmer Glass Festival, which is a huge opera festival in upstate New York, gave her a call, and she ended up as their director of artistic admin, which is a huge job. I left UTSA, which everybody thought was crazy. It's like, you don't leave a university gig because you won't get another. Well, I hoovered up a bunch of little ones up in New York, Hartwick College and College of St. Rose and RPI doing, triple adjunct duty. But I was playing, subbing with the Albany Symphony, and I had all the jazz stuff up there as well. A lot of amazing players up there. Oh my God, man! Of course. And oddly enough, like playing essentially with the same trio, Doc Watkins and either Jim Calson or Mike Porter, Brandon Rivas, like those are the sax guys, and myself on drums. Like if you play as a group, and you guys know this because you play together constantly for ages, like there's a real there's a vibe that you really can dig into, but you also play a lot of the same stuff. And so it kind of cuts both ways. And so when I, got up to New York, it's like I was more confident in my jazz drum set abilities, but like when they're calling standards up there, they sound totally different. Like how they want to do Caravan is not how I've done Caravan literally every Friday night for the past 3 years or whatever. It's like a totally different thing. And so it really opened my ears. And plus, there's all these cats from the city that will go upstate to do stuff. So I played with a lot of people up there that I frankly don't think I had any business playing with. Working with Chuck Lamb's band. Chuck, if you don't know Chuck Lamb, check that man out. He's incredible. But because he's so good, he's, having cats from the city come up. So I ended up on the stage with Scott Robinson and Eric Alexander and John Fedchock, Joe Maggs. Like, these are people that under any other circumstance would never have anything to do with me. And yet, like, you end up, again, like the weak link on the stage, learning and like just paddling real hard. And it was great. Like I learned so much. I became a much, much better player just because I was forced. It's not like I was like, oh no, I have to play with all these bad players. Okay, fine. Well, tough gig, right? So that's why we were up there for 7 years. And moved back here. Post-COVID, we didn't really want to go back to like nonstop work. We had 2 kids then, so it was like, okay. I chucked all the university stuff, and Amra moved away from arts admin, and she actually has transferable skills. Like, she's a super administrator. Had no problem finding a great job down here, and I was like, I'll be stay-at-home dad for a minute, and I'll I'm still relatively well connected down here because if you're a percussion teacher at a major university in Texas, you're going to be in the scene to some extent. So I was doing, clinics and workshops, and I still was doing a lot of teaching remotely. I still had my students up in New York. I had a guy in Shanghai, I had a guy in Toronto, like people that I had worked with up there that had moved elsewhere. And, during the pandemic, like everything was digital. So we were all used to being, doing lessons like that. So that was kind of all I did when I was down here. We had a newborn, and our son was 3 when we moved down here. So there's plenty to do, and I enjoyed that. And I wasn't really coming out of COVID. Like, I wasn't playing, and none of us were really. Or you were playing constantly.
We were playing constantly,
right? I bet that's why you sound so good.
But we were playing
right?
outside,
right? That's the thing. Like, I did very little playing there for like a good year, maybe even 2 years. And even now, I feel like I'm just getting my stuff back together, in terms of like just facility on the instrument, but also like getting your ears, get the rust banged off your ears, so you can really like pay attention to what's going on and be part of what's happening on the stage at any given time. So I was just checking out stuff, go see who the cats are around town. So when I feel like I'm actually ready to like play, I know exactly who I want to call. Mm-hmm. And so that was, I also didn't want to be out, till all hours of the morning, because, if you're doing midnight feedings and stuff, it's like, okay, that's just, it's not ideal for the jazz schedule, shall we say. But now the kids are in school and I've got a little more time. Everybody's more established in a routine, and I'm quite happy to jump into this new adventure at Docks, which is really just it's an outgrowth of the joint in Texas, or in San Antonio. And I mean, Jazz Texas has been around for 10 years, and I think they've really dialed in a vibe where the second you walk into this place, and you can speak to this, Chad. It's like there's a welcome. It's like a welcoming, almost family environment about it. The bands that play there are excellent, but they interact with the audience in a way that I think invites the audience to be part of that experience. And that's a thing that you don't get that if you're in a concert hall, because just the physicality of the place. You have a stage and you have a curtain. It's like a physical or mental barrier between that and the audience, and that's fine. That's how the symphony world works, and that's cool. I love that space. I do that all the time. But Jazzland sometimes is like too much of the opposite direction. It's like you might not know that there's real people in the corner and they're actually playing real instruments. And that's a drag too, because like
maybe they are some of the best cats in the town.
Yeah.
And their craft and the amount of hours and stuff that they've put in there is not reflected in the relationship between them and the audience at any given time. And sometimes that's our fault as the musicians, frankly. It's like we don't always do a great job of making sure that the audience is invited into what we're doing.
That's a great point.
And I think we can do a better job at that. We can't just do the late Miles thing. And
well, you do a great job at it. I think, I think we try to make that a point. But obviously, when I was with you, I mean, it's like, that's exactly how it should be done.
Right. That's a thing I learned as a university professor. It's like it doesn't really matter what the gig is if you're not at least trying to make the audience that bothered to show up at your show part of the experience. Then why would you expect them to come back? Yeah, honestly, like you can't just ignore them, and that doesn't mean that you're pandering to them. You're just trying to make sure that they understand what it is you're going for.
It might make them listen better, harder, because they can kind of be like, "Oh, this is about that."
Yeah.
Do you think that we basically, like, a lot of musicians start because they want to play music well, and then they kind of forgot that, like, well, they call it an entertainment business.
You said it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you're pandering to them or you're gonna play Mustang Sally all night every night because, well, that's what people like. That's how you end up like super bitter and jaded, and you end up disliking your audience, which is a terrible shame. They're there to see you, or
they
I would
actually
at least
respect you. They actually look up to you.
Right. It's like what we do is not a thing that very many people can do.
Yeah.
Like it's a very, very tiny amount of people on the earth that can play music, any kind of music at the level to which I think the three of us aspire. Yeah. And that's both a privilege and there's a responsibility to like make sure that we are giving some of that energy and the passion that we have for this music back to the audience. Because if we're not, you're just having a rehearsal.
Right.
But it's not the same thing, right? So, performing and having to be the person in front of the band as the leader, whether it's because I've got my, Dr. Francis hat and I'm at the university and I'm introducing the percussion ensemble, which is arguably a lot weirder. You might have literally a pile of pots and pans on stage. You got to sell that thing to the audience. And it might not just be mom and dad out there. It's like maybe the dean shows up and he's like, what the hell is going on up there? If you can bridge that gap, then surely you can introduce a jazz tune in a way that at least gives the audience like some idea of what to expect, And part of that's also like pre-gig, like if they don't know what you're going to do, then like that's terrifying for some people, And I'm sure you've had this experience where you're like they don't know what you're going to do, and then after the show you're talking to cats that are there and they're like, man, I didn't even know I like jazz, and you're like,
that's happened.
Absolutely. And that's a huge win, because those are people that go home and they're like, okay, jazz does not need to be this like esoteric, purely academic endeavor that is only really for the people on stage. Yes,
well,
that
I don't
gig
think
exists.
I don't think it was that ever. And then something happened, maybe institution-wise.
Well, that's we could bang on that drum for a very long time. I don't know, but that however that came to pass, I think our responsibility is still to like relate to the audience. Music and the arts in general is like that's a communicative thing, and if you're not communicating, or worse, you're just ignoring the people that are there supposedly to listen to you, like. It's just rude, and you're not doing your art any favors. You're not doing yourself any favors, and you're sending them away excluded rather than like included. And that's what we got to be going for. And frankly, I think classical music could do a much better job with that too.
That's a bigger thing about classical music.
Oh well, I was just saying. Do you think that avant-garde is a good example of inclusive?
You know what? Yes, because even if you're not like spending. It's a very informal arrangement, which I think is good, especially in that kind of setting. I mean, the half a dozen times I've been there, it's never the same people in the audience. I mean, maybe there's a few, and maybe I got to go more often. You'll be like, oh yeah, this guy's always here, or whatever. And I've seen a variety of players roll through there that I don't see anywhere else, which is cool because it means that you've set the standard for inclusion for the musicians. And if that's true, then I think the audience feels that. It's
Definitely.
like,
And it's not just whoever. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody up there who literally cannot play. It's like, okay,
Sure.
proud owner of a saxophone, buckle up. You
Yeah.
know? It's like, if you're there, like, and you've seen the band play, you
Yeah.
either know, like, all right, I'm ready for this or I'm not ready for this.
We've
and that's
basically
fine.
never had to tell anyone to not play. I don't think really. I think here and there. I
mean,
Yeah.
if they say
hate
that,
being
if
me.
they say they don't know anything,
Yeah. Well,
then we might
now,
be like,
now
It's a funny thing to say, though. You're there to play. Like, oh, I don't know.
now we
anything.
make it a
What?
point. Now we'll make it a point. Like, if we don't know you at all, like brand new, I'll be like, well, just checking, you know, because this is Jazz Jam. Do you know some tunes or
Right.
something?
Right. What do you
And
want
if
to
they
play?
say not at all, then we'll be like, well, maybe because we're gonna play all jazz tunes,
Yeah,
or
right.
tunes something. Like maybe pick a tune,
Yeah.
come back next week, listen.
Know exactly what you can blow on.
But
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing because there have been moments where people say they might know something, and we try and do it, and it's clearly not working.
Yeah.
And I've been debating this thing where it's like, how hard onto somebody should I go? And I've said this before, but it's like, first, I don't like to be like crazy mean because I'm worried about myself.
Sure.
Like, I'm not, there's so much that I can be better at that I'm not trying to talk down to somebody necessarily, even if it's valuable at that moment. But then there is also the culture of like, you do get better in that sense.
You do.
I mean, the first time I ever played at the jazz spot here, right when I got here to Houston, was Cafe 4212. Somebody just told me about it. I didn't know a thing about it. I just randomly went to the jam session. And I asked T.R. Reed, who is the MC of the place, I said, and I was like fish out of water completely when I went there for the first time, but it was cool. And I was like, could I sit in? And I was also still very green. Like I was all classical really at that point,
man,
but
I
had just
know
done
that
jazz
feeling.
on the side.
Right.
Knew I could do some stuff. And he was just like, can you swing? Can you swing? And then I'm like, shit, I think so. And then it went
Lowercase
well,
s.
but that's like where I really, like what you were saying earlier, I really like cut some teeth in there, had some horrifying experiences.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But made me so much better because I would go every single Monday. And what was funny is that Armin and I played there the other day on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Not Cafe 4212 anymore, but
Mocha
it's called
4212,
Mocha
Right.
HDX.
Yeah.
And it was fun to be back in there. It was the first time I had been back in there because I think it closed after COVID.
Yep.
And the hurricane maybe damaged it at one point.
No doubt.
But yeah, stuff like that. And then, but the inclusion, but also keeping the standard right.
Well, that's it. I think you've got to understand as the person running the jam, and I ran a jam up in New York with my Hardwick trio. I wouldn't necessarily know any of the young cats that came up and played. And they were sometimes really young because it was at a brew pub that had, I don't know how the liquor license worked, but it was like a family-friendly joint at all hours. So you could, high schoolers could show up and play, which is great because most of the time, like, you can't do that until you're of age at a bar.
Right.
And frankly, like, yes, I definitely needed to be going to the jam at 21. But if you're really playing, like, you should be at that jam when you're 16.
Right.
You know, it's like that. Like, the earlier that starts, the better, frankly. But you can't get into most jams if you're 16. And so, like, we would have some high schoolers that would come up, and it was like very clear that the response, the onus is on the person running the jam, you or I, to make sure that, like, they understand the level of respect that you've got to have for the art, but that's something they're totally capable of achieving. And how you go about explaining that, which is tricky in the moment because, like, you got to be planning the next band and figuring out the next tune and, like, okay, we've got a very inexperienced keyboard player, but, like, everybody else can really blow. So, like, okay, maybe it's a blues thing because they can handle the chords, but then so-and-so can really stretch out. That's a tough gig. And sometimes it doesn't work. That's fine. I think that's also okay, and if ever there was an art form that was durable enough to, like, take some real howlers of performances, it's the jazz world. Like, I don't think for a second that, like, every record that Miles or Sonny Rollins ever made or every show that they played was just like, oh, well, that's the best ever. I'm sure they had some nights where they're like,
dang, not happening tonight, for one reason or another. Like, it's like not every gig is going to be your best gig.
That's right.
And the jam, by nature, virtue of the nature of the thing itself, is a very fluid beast. And it's important for that reason. It's like you've got space for experimentation and great successes and failure. And I think all of those are okay in the interest of like, what's the jam for? That's exactly what it's for.
Yeah.
It's for that next generation or the new cats in town or people coming back to town to be like, okay, let you guys know that, I'm here to play, or this person's like, I'm just figuring this out. And that should be both encouraged and supported, but also like a little, critique would not go amiss.
Yeah.
I think that's, if this is something this person wants to do, at least semi-professionally, well, you're going to have your rear end handed to you at some point, and you need to have some tough skin if you want to do music in any format, really. So figure that out. Like, get tough. It's okay. It's all right. It's in the best interest
Right.
of the player and the art.
Well, it's kind of like saying, like, God forbid the toddler falls when it's trying to walk. It's like, okay, well, he needs to walk.
Yes.
So what do you want? It's like,
Man,
Right?
I struggle with that all the time with my kids.
Right.
I see them tearing around the house, and I'm like, you are millimeters away from the corner of every sharp object in this house.
Right,
it's
right.
like, you're going to run into that at some point. I
Yeah.
cannot protect you from every bump and scrape.
right.
And it's like it gives me tons of gray hair, but like
Yeah.
that, those things happen. Bumps happen. People fall down. I've stunken up on gigs when I thought I was a professional. I'm sure you've been in that position too.
Absolutely.
And I've just like, after the gig, I was like, just mortified. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
Like, I should know better than.
I should never play again.
Yeah. And yet, the next night you're probably playing.
Yeah.
But you have that experience to be like, okay, let's just keep ourselves grounded. I've got that much more to learn all the time,
Yeah.
And if you ever think otherwise, you're fooling yourself, really.
I had a student, basically, he was sounding like he was giving up or something. He was like, man, I don't even know how you're supposed to do this. Like, how do
Yeah.
you do this?
Right.
And he's like, he's in a technical field getting his degree. So he's like, my technical field is easier than this. I don't understand.
Of course it is.
How you play it like that.
Yeah.
How you can just improvise like that. I don't understand. And I'm like, and I started laughing at him because it's like, I've been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yes.
And I've thought that.
We're still there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's the position I'm in. If I'm seeing, any better jazz player of any instrument, I'm like, man, how are they doing that?
right.
And I'm supposed to know what I'm doing? No.
Well, I
We're
try
all
to tell
learning.
him that basically right now he's trying to learn a very complicated language, and so if you were worrying too much about when am I going to sound fluid, you're going to really like lose a lot of sleep.
Yep.
You should be just more concerned about learning every day, and then eventually you can afford to forget because you'll be fluent.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a language. My German's terrible. I can ask you what you did on the weekend and tell you I had too many beers last night.
But if you went to Germany, the best thing you could do, you go to Germany right now.
Yeah.
And now you're surrounded by that.
Right, exactly. You
So-
soak it up, and eventually you can have an actual conversation instead of just repeating yourself all the time. And it's
That's
that
what
fluency.
he's missing. He's like, I don't know how to conversate.
Yeah, you need more vocabulary.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But he does make the good steps. So I assume I know who you're talking about. He does make the good steps of always coming out to the jam sessions to get
Vital.
fluent. And
Even if you don't play, you're seeing somebody else do something
Yeah.
or have a conversation in a way that you might not feel like you're ready to do yet.
And
that's how you
Yeah.
learn.
because I know who he's talking about, is a younger guy for sure, and nice guy, definitely wants to learn. And maybe a month ago or something, he came out to Avant Garden and took a solo, and I was actually sitting out watching, and I was like, you just told us a whole story.
There you go.
In your solo. It was really crazy.
Okay.
I was like in shock and awe watching him.
It's good teaching, right? It's true. I mean, you guys takes both. You got to have a good teacher, but like you also have to be ready to do the work. And
I was a little hard on him the other day because he was trying to kind of play fast.
Yeah.
which he can. He has the ability to play fast. But what was happening was like, like this is all out of love. This is just for analysis right now. What was happening was he was trying to play through the changes and find something by playing stuff until something landed. And when I said, and I was kind of mean, I was like, never do that in front of me again. I said, do you go up to somebody and just start blabbering? Do you just do that?
It's not.
That would make you look insane.
Yeah.
I'm like, in a musical context, it's kind of insane to do what you're doing. So I'm like, if you can play that fast, then you can just put a melody somewhere.
Yep.
So we focused so much time. I like obnoxiously was like playing only melody and chord tones on a solo, and I said, dude, like this. Don't even play eighth notes.
Right.
Play some quarter notes or something. But anyway, the point being is that
Absolutely.
you might actually have more tools than you realize to make the thing happen. Like, I don't, my French is very bad right now, but if I'm tactful and I know that I say this phrase followed by that phrase, then we can go through a basic conversation together with no hiccups.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah.
And
Context is everything.
yeah, so I wanted to lead it back because you're going to go buy a piano.
Yeah,
I think.
You gotta go.
And you got to go very
I don't know.
soon.
What time is it?
You gotta go. 11:10.
No. It's been an hour already?
Yeah.
Let's do this 5 more times.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's just kind of get a closing thing because I really wanted to give the club some publicity
let me just make sure
through
that
you.
the doc's actually there.
Okay.
And Graeme is
sitting in
going
traffic or
to
something.
buy a piano for Doc's Club here in Houston.
Yep.
Which is a big deal. And so basically, this is going to be the largest jazz club in Texas, kind of.
I mean, it's a big space.
I don't know if there's any who's got a great measurement for that, but it's a big space.
I think capacity full house is about 300, which is big.
It's on Westheimer. I want to tell people where it is.
Yeah.
Westheimer and Montrose.
Yep.
Big theater with what used to be El Real Mexican restaurant, which turned into Acme Oyster House, and it was originally, I don't know the name of the theater.
Yeah.
Empire Theater.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Because it was the Mexican place when I moved here.
Yeah. It's been like 3 things since I've been down here. But hopefully it's Doc's for a very long time. You cannot miss it. It's the giant marquee, beautiful old Art Deco front. I think the tiles out front are all done now too. It's starting to look really, really sharp. It's been a construction zone for the better part of a year, but it's really starting to look.
It's a quick turnaround too.
It is. That's fast for a project this big.
Yeah.
When do you expect the doors to open first night?
Our plan is grand opening 14th and 15th of November.
Nice.
And we'll have some soft opening stuff starting on the 4th, which I believe is when we're there. You and I and Ben, and we'll have live music pretty much constantly. So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. What day are we at there? Tuesday through Saturday. Right now, we plan on being closed Sundays and Mondays. Kind of the same schedule as Jazz Texas, and but yeah, tons of high quality jazz and jazz adjacent stuff. I mean, if you've got a great band and you've got a very specific concept and you're ready to engage with the audience in a way that makes them feel like part of the show, give me a shout.
And what we're going to do for this is we're going to, in the podcast, we're going to put the social media in there.
Yeah.
For Docs. Obviously your stuff too.
Sure.
So that people can be really aware of it because there's nothing else like it in Houston.
That's true.
And Houston needs it.
Yeah. There's too many great players in
bad.
town, and for a city this big to not have sort of a flagship epicenter for the musical community, it seems kind of crazy. Yeah.
It's literally shocking, and I think it's in a perfect location.
Yeah.
So we're going to cap it at that.
Yeah.
We've got to go get a piano. Yeah. This has been Graeme Francis. Graeme, thanks for coming on today. And
My
we're
pleasure.
So excited and grateful to you for your amazing work.
Man, I feel like I'm
Graham's an amazing drummer. He downplayed himself the entire time, but he's actually an amazing jazz drummer.
Not true.
And percussionist. So if you ever get to check him out at the club, or
hopefully with these two
anywhere else.
clowns.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go.
So
it's very exciting.
Everybody, if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Go to Doc's Club here in Houston. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.